championship contender.
CP, you frozen. CP. All right, listen. CP is frozen. All right. I'm sure he's going to be hopping back in here in a second. It's the True Knicks Talk podcast. It's your boy CP. Your boy NIC is back in the building. Like I said, our host will be back any second. Yeah, man. Knicks get a dub. Knicks beat the Brooklyn Nets in back-to-back games. Being an NBA team in back-to-back games is never an easy thing. And the Knicks step up and get it done tonight. Karl Anthony Towns was fantastic throughout, extremely versatile, made sure that he was not only scoring and rebounding, but distributing as well. And the Knicks gave you a couple times where you felt a little bit iffy, but overall, they got it done. But yeah, man. Hey, big win for the Knicks. My man CP, where you at, CP? Technical difficulties for the guy CP, but your boy NIC is gonna hold it down. Hey, if you're in the chat, if you're in the comments, throw us a comment. Let us know that you're listening. I honestly don't even know if we're up and we're live right now. CP, this is typically not like him. He's usually up in I don't know, technical difficulties over what they are. Let's try and figure out what's going on with my man CP.
Yo, my Wi-Fi cut out.
No doubt. All right. Well, I'm in here right now. There's 3 minutes and 11 seconds. My man CP, his Wi-Fi did cut out, but I think you can hear him on the mic right now. We're trying to keep it going for y'all. The Knicks get a big win. They beat the Brooklyn Nets in back-to-back games. Karl Anthony Towns, versatile from the top. Jalen Brunson, tough night shooting, but then closes it out late. Hey, we're waiting for CP to get back on. There he is.
I'm here. Holy cow. Listen, I've never had something like this happen to me before. So listen, we're just kind of going with it. We're just kind of rolling with it. My Wi-Fi cut out as soon as I hit the live button. Thank you, StreamYard, so very much for your services. You're upping the price on me monthly, and you are decreasing the quality. And
they're trying to get us.
So we're calling out StreamYard right now. Listen, the New York Knicks get an electric victory. My man Nick was holding it down for the first 3 minutes and something seconds on this stream. I definitely appreciate you. Nick, I apologize. This is the first post game that we've done on this channel in quite some time, and this was not how I envisioned the post game going. So again, thank you so much. If you are a part of this stream right now, please do hit the thumbs up button. As usual, subscribe to the channel. Do not only subscribe to my channel, but also subscribe to the He Did This To Me podcast over on YouTube. The link to your YouTube channel, Nick, and your father, right? Dynamic duo talking Mets, Knicks, and Jets is in the description down below. But listen, we got an electric game to talk about because this is the second win in 2 nights for our New York Knicks. This feels absolutely amazing. Knicks versus Nets part 2. Ooh. Did you give an intro to everybody in your channel yet? Did I miss that?
Nah, man, I was just filibustering pretty much, talking a little bit about the game so much and just, seeing how soon it would take you to get back. But yeah, man, hey, man, listen, it's down in the channel. It's me and my pops. We talk Knicks, Mets, Jets, and sports in general. And then I do Nick on Knicks as well, which is like a little post game that can be in your morning inbox waiting for you wherever you find your podcasts. And you can check out what I'm talking about and how I feel about the most recent Knicks game. It typically is, short, 20 minutes or less, 30 minutes if we really, feeling frisky that night. But what's good, CP? It's good to get the band back together, man. It's been too long.
Yeah, it's great to get the band back together. Absolutely. We did a lot of post-game shows last season, Wi-Fi permitting, obviously. But listen, we got a lot to talk about tonight. Like, this was it was kind of a crazy game for me, especially with how it started out. It started off a little bit sloppy and, on both sides of the ball in terms of the shooting aspect, and it kind of just progressively got more interesting as time went on. I kind of wanted to start off by just talking about the team stats for each team here. And Nick, I know you've been doing a lot of Knicks content here early on in the season, as have I. We've been talking about the state of this Knicks team. They get above 500 after this victory tonight, which is awesome. But some of the, more lackadaisical aspects of this team, maybe some more of the aspects that we're not kind of accustomed to watching out of this team, maybe in comparison to last season with some of the personnel turnover. Some of the things that I've been talking about has been the turnovers in general for this team, the rebounding in general of this team. The shooting has been pretty good. I'm going to say it's been pretty great for this team, but the overall defense as well. Everybody's been floating out there the stat lines and the aspect of Karl-Anthony Towns and, what the percentages of his contested shots in the paint are. I kind of want to just get an overall breakdown from you of the Knicks so far this season, but also as it pertains to this game, because one thing that I've always stressed, now that we're finally into the thick of things here, 10 plus games into the season, is the paint points. The paint points have been a killer for the New York Knicks in terms of, I look at the games against, Atlanta and Houston in particular, when they took back-to-back, not back-to-back nights, but back-to-back game road L's on the road. And it's just like, dude, what's happening in the paint here? We can't establish any paint presence. And you see here against the Brooklyn Nets, it was a complete 180, 50-point paint points compared to the 24 for the Brooklyn Nets. It was awesome to see. So what is your honest assessment of the Knicks so far? But in particular, like, what did you see differently in this game than what you have seen so far in the rest of the regular season?
So I thought in this game, we saw a lot of the things that we have been seeing. And as we've seen with this entire season, it's all been just spurts and starts. So, the Knicks have either one loss. This is like the first time we've won back games. So it's the other time that we won. No, it's not. It's the second time we've won back-to-back games. But the last time we followed that up with the back-to-back losses that you just mentioned, back-to-back to Houston, and who was the second game to? Two young athletic teams that just killed us on the boards, Atlanta. And yeah, so
Atlanta, yep.
So what I saw from the Knicks tonight is the things that drive me nuts and also the things that make me very hopeful for the future. Now, let's go ahead and throw out this caveat before I throw out some things that are kind of driving me nuts. We had a 3-in-1 week. The one win that escaped us, if somebody had possibly farted while that ball was on the rim, it would have went through. It was that close. And we have started to get a little bit more consistency, specifically out of Mikal Bridges, who I need him playing hard in your face defense all game, which that has been like, a total up and down the entire season. And I need him hunting middies. And those are the things I saw from him tonight. Those are the things I saw from him in the last game against the Nets. And those are the things that I like. But as you said, defensively, we have been inconsistent. And I think that there's a couple parts to that you can look at and you can really focus on. First and foremost, I don't think the whole Cat and his lack of defense, and especially the percentage against him, is so fair. And there's a couple reasons for that. First and foremost, eye test, the guy just looks like he's trying hard on defense. He's in the right positions. He's contesting. His biggest issue on defense is that he gets himself into foul trouble, and then guys are able to just attack him because they know that he cannot pick up that next foul. But I don't understand this stat that's come out that says that, he's given up this crazy percentage against him as far as when he's the lead defender. But then you don't count the blocks that he has in that stat, because if you add 9 blocks, which is 9 field goals attempted that are missed, that entire number is totally different. So I don't know exactly how that works. It doesn't make sense to me. That was the first thing I saw, but I've been totally impressed with Karl Anthony Towns. His rebounding, his defense have been up to par, if not a little bit better than I expected. And offensively, I mean, the guy is just unreal what he can do as far as offensively, especially impressed with his passing. Now, defensively, to me, the biggest thing is it's the paint. And like you said, especially when we play against some of these younger, more athletic teams, they're getting to the paint a lot and they're getting a lot of dunks. But especially when we have games where they're getting a lot to the paint and they're getting dunks and layups, but when we're giving up wide open threes, we have to defend the 3 ball better. It's something I wrote down in my notes like 3 different times today, because at one point it was like, hey, we're defending the 3 ball. This is great. Beginning of the second quarter, we got out there. We got after it. We defended the 3 ball. By the end of the second quarter, we weren't, and they're shooting wide open threes. In today's NBA, you can't have guys like Clowney. If he's shooting threes, he's going to hit them. He's going to hit them. But the Knicks did dominate in the paint today. When you have Finney-Smith and Clowney as the defensive, backbone of the paint of the team that you're playing against, you have to dominate in paint. I mean, you tell me, CP, how have you felt about the Cat thing? Listen, Julius hit a buzzer beater tonight. Dante has not had the year he's supposed to have. We could probably get into that a little bit later as far as you feel about that, but just like, I'm very interested to know how you feel about the trade and how you feel about the fit moving forward.
No, I really do feel like Cat has fit the mold in terms of exactly what the Knicks have traded for him. The reason why they traded for him is that offensive efficiency. I mean, this guy has been dominating on the offensive side of the ball. And listen, the common theme for me as well has been stating the fact that Karl Anthony Towns really, to me, on a Knicks team that is at the top of their game, he's not their starting center, man. He's not their starting center. I know that a lot of people, and I know that you might have a disagreement with this, but
it's not my personal feeling. It's not my personal feeling. My feeling is why do you make the trade if you don't want to do the 5-out thing? What's the point if you don't want to go 5-out?
Defense. I'm talking about defensively. With what we've been seeing so far, there's absolutely no way that the Knicks are at the top of their game with Karl Anthony Towns as their center. And I'm not saying that the whole percentage against him defensively and what we've been seeing in terms of the contested shots in the paint and him being the worst defender in such category is attributed to him. But are you going to actually sell me on the fact that if he doesn't have a Mitchell Robinson alongside him defensively, he's not better? If he's not guarding the 4, he's not better?
I agree that I think that defensively he's better at guarding the 4. I think that the whole reason that you make this trade is because you're trying to mimic Boston and their 5-out system. And I personally feel like doing that and then running a starting lineup where, say, Mitch is the center and Cat is the 4, it kind of goes against the whole purpose of the trade, is giving Brunson that space to operate and giving that true 5-out where everybody can shoot. Everybody's a good passer as well, which that's the thing that's really impressed me about him. The guy can really.
So what we've seen from the Knicks so far has not at all made me confident that they can mimic anything that Boston did, especially last season.
Offensively, we definitely can. Defensively, I don't know.
Yes. No. Yeah, exactly. And so, listen, it's going to take time. It's going to take, if that's what the goal is in terms of running a 5-out, nobody in set, if that was what the end goal was, awesome. For me, the problem was with the Knicks last season, and again, we'll tie this back into this game right here. But for me, the problem was the Knicks, they were really running a 3-out, 2-in set because Julius and Mitchell Robinson, when they were both on the floor, were kind of clogging up that spacing for the New York Knicks. And that was kind of the main reasoning for that trade, was getting rid of perhaps Julius Randle. I mean, let's call a spade, because Julius Randle is also blocking and taking away shots that Jalen Brunson would be taking, and that OG Anunoby, which we'll talk about in this very stream, would be taking. And last year, I know that OG Anunoby and Julius Randle didn't really get to play that many games together, but I don't think we'd see this kind of takeoff from OG Anunoby offensively if we still have Julius Randle on this squad. I mean, do you really think that dynamic would be working right now? Because I don't think so.
Listen, okay, so it's hard for me to prognosticate what I would say when it comes to OG and Julius. Obviously, like you said, they played such a short amount of games together, but when they played those games together, the team overall was very, very good. And I honestly think that it's not about Julius taking shots away from those guys. It's more about the places on the floor that he operated, and specifically about the fact that he could not play five. Like, I mean, obviously Julius is just not a five. So therefore, he clogs the paint on offense, can't defend the paint on defense. And I just think that where the league is going and what they have with Jalen Brunson, the thought process was, let's run this. And like I said, the offense with Cat looks great. I think what we're going to see when Mitch comes back, when we see Precious come back as well, and hopefully the emergence of Huck Porty, which Huck Porty versus Sims is the biggest debate on Knicks Twitter right now. But I honestly feel that once we get to a point where we have, guys healthy, we're going to see times where you see Cat on the floor with, say, with also a Mitch. But let's not forget, man, when we go back and we look at just recently the game that we played against Philadelphia, the biggest thing that I saw about Embiid that was different than what I've seen about him when we've played against him prior is that he had to guard Cat. That's what took him out of that game, is that he had to be out there at the deep, and when he wasn't, Cat made him pay with threes, and then he had to get out there, and then now the paint is wide open, and Brunson's getting layups. I've seen Brunson get layups so many times this year because the opposite big man has to stay close to Cat. And so as soon as you put Mitch on the floor, yes, defensively we get better, but this game is different, man. It's different. The game is moving more towards trying to maximize your offense as opposed to your defense. And I don't think that we'll see a change in the starting lineup, but I do think that in spurts we will see a little bit of Cat at the four.
So are you worried that Cat won't be able to beat the opposing team's four-man? Is that what your worry is?
I'm just worried about the fact that now that Mitch is on the floor as our five, the opposing five is now being able to just man the paint because he doesn't have to leave the paint and guard Mitch.
What if they And my honest reaction to that, if I was Tom Thibodeau, in terms of adjusting to that, because I do agree in terms of that could, but the flip side of things is that, sometimes the Knicks don't run a 5-out 0-in set because Karl-Anthony Towns is the one posting up the opposing big man. Like, he's the one that's posting up that big man. But like, what if you run, and I know this is not Mitchell Robinson's game, I know this is kind of unrealistic, but I'm just kind of spitballing here, right? Because this is the post game. It's almost 10 o'clock. We're kind of just like getting into some ideas here. What if you run Mitchell Robinson on the baseline and just tell him, get the hell out of the paint? I know it doesn't work really for a 7-foot big man like that, but it's like, if there was a way to get Mitchell Robinson out of the paint, but also stick him into the starting lineup alongside Karl-Anthony Towns. But the problem also is so exactly what you said, right? The league is driven towards offensive efficiency, but we have seen the Knicks lose the paint battle defensively to two teams that they should not be losing to in the Houston Rockets. And I will give the Houston Rockets credit because they are a better team than a lot of people give them credit for.
Very well coached.
Hawks, but also the Atlanta Hawks in losing that paint battle, the paint point battle, because Karl-Anthony Towns, whether he's in foul trouble like he was in Houston or not, it doesn't really matter. There is no length to this team outside of Karl-Anthony Towns. There's zero length. And when you play a team like perhaps Indiana, definitely a team like the Orlando Magic, maybe even a team like the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are off to a damn hot start with their two big guys over there. Like, these teams with a lack of length, right? like that's going to give you problems. And we've already seen that into this young Knicks season. And I just, right, comparing this Knicks season right now and how it's going, given that they've prioritized the offense and given where we were at this point in the season with the Knicks last season, I know that it was a completely different team. RJ Barrett was still on this team at this time last year, whatever. But like, it just seemed like defensively. Now, I will say the Knicks played down the stretch a great defensive ball game in this particular game. But I'm just talking about this season in its totality so far. Defensively, it just seems like they don't have what it takes from that starting unit to compete with teams that have more length than they do. And going forward, that's just a concerning factor for me.
So thus far, what I've seen from this Knicks team, and let's not remember that we had a similar record around this time of last year. So Tom Thibodeau teams typically start slow and they finish, and they start getting humming in January and start and finish strong. And I've been the first person that said, I've had enough talking about like us figuring it out. Certain things need to be figured out when it comes to overall just like effort and intensity on a nightly basis. And specifically, I want to talk about Mikal Bridges, because Mikal Bridges on certain nights, I mean, to me, the best like case study is you look at the two different games against Indiana and you watch how he played Halliburton one game when Halliburton scored 0 points, and how he played Halliburton the other game when Halliburton was just absolutely going off and killing us. And there was a definite lack of intensity. I don't think that Karl Anthony Towns is a great defender, but I don't think that he's the biggest issue on defense. I think that specifically Bridges and Brunson sometimes have gotten a little bit lax this year. They've gotten a little bit lax, and it's sometimes within a game you'll see them turn it up and then kind of fall off a little bit. And when they do, and they allow too much dribble penetration, then that's when we get ourselves in an issue. I still don't think we're going to see a change in the starting lineup. I think that we're going to see a lot of Mitch. And again, as we know as Knicks fans, we need Mitch to be a guy who plays between 15 and 20 minutes a game. If you ask more of that from Mitch, we're not going to see him even if he doesn't come back till January. We're not going to see him be healthy throughout the end of June if that's what's happening. So Cat playing the 5, I think offensively is extremely important for him. And then the whole thing that we talked about, the whole thing that you say starts off with, if we can find a way to hide Mitch. You can't. There's no way to hide him on offense. If you put him on the baseline, now you're stopping either OG or Bridges, who's in the corner, from being able to cut back door, which OG does so well. And he did
that so many times tonight too.
The last 2 games, he had 6 dunks in the previous game, and tonight I don't know about how many dunks he had, but it seemed like it was 4, 5, 6, something like that. He's fantastic at that. And Cat is getting even better at making the passes. Remember when we thought that losing Hartenstein and bringing in Cat, we were going to lose that ability for a guy to be able to create out of like the elbow extended? And Cat, I think, is even better than that than Hartenstein was, honestly. So I just think defensively, they need to find more consistency with how they defend the 3 and those wings, and specifically Brunson being able to keep guys in front of them and also pinch down on defensive rebounds. I think once we get that done, we might not be a team. We might be a team with a great net rating because we're like top 5 in offense, and then we're like top 10 in defense, but we might not be a top 5 defensive team. But I do think there will be times, and quite often, I don't know if there's any stats that back this up, but quite often, what I found is the times where we're getting killed in the paint, it's quite often when reserves are on the floor. It's quite often when just like it's that part in the middle of the game where we don't have the full, and it's just like they go on some crazy run where it's like, yo, the best player, like they went, like Houston went on a run without Jalen Green even on the floor at one point, and I was like, who I don't even know who this guy is, but they got nothing but guys who are 6'9" who can run and stick a 3 and also dunk on your face. And that's where the Knicks get in trouble, where we don't have that length. I want to see a little bit more Pacome Dadier play for that reason, because he's a bigger guy. And I just think that overall that trade signals to me that the Knicks want to play Cat at the 5. Like, I don't think they make that trade to play Cat at the 4. To me, if you're going to play Cat at the 4 and then also take away Ragu, take away Dante, then I think that's a bad trade. I think if you're going to play Cat at the 5 and now he gives you something that Julius can't give you at all, that makes it make more sense to me. Just what I think.
Then if that's what they want to go forward with, then I'm going to say this right now. Josh Hart has been the second best player on the New York Knicks. I will confidently say that, behind Karl-Anthony Towns. There's no way that you can have Josh Hart starting in the starting unit. If that's what they want, you need to find a bigger four-man in this league.
Is he your four?
Besides Josh Hart? Because if we are complaining about length, then what is are you going to take OG Anunoby out of there? No. Are you going to take Mikal Bridges and put him as a 6-man and move OG Anunoby up? No. Like, you know what I mean? In an ideal world, maybe you move Mikal Bridges to the 6-man position, right? But everyone's saying, oh, we gave up 4 or 5 first rounders for him. There's no way you can move him to the bench. So if that's your line of thinking as well, I think you can. You made the move for the guy already.
Wait, you want to move Bridges to the bench?
I'm not saying it's out of the realm of possibility. I'm not saying it's out of the realm of possibility. The problem is I would do anything to this New York Knicks lineup that gives them more length. And this starting 5, if you're proposing to me, Nick, if this is going to be the starting 5 down the stretch of this season, all the way up into the playoffs, I don't like it.
Where's the length out of the 4 position from Boston in their starting 5?
But okay, so you want the Knicks to mimic Boston in the first?
I'm not saying what I want. I'm saying when this trade goes down, this is what it seems like the Knicks are trying to do, in my opinion.
I agree, but they're not going to do it in the first year. They're not. This is not plausible in the first year.
I think that if you look at Boston, it's very comparable. Where you have White, who is very similar to Hart, where he's really kind of like your shooting guard, but he can rebound and do some things.
Also,
like a bigger player.
I would like to say Boston starting point guard Drew Holiday. I don't want to throw any shade to Jalen Brunson, but by the way, we just talked about the New York Knicks guards, whether it's Mikal Bridges or Jalen Brunson, defensively, and them kind of allowing the opposing guards to get into the paint, which is kind of why we see the lapse in defense. There's many times where I see the opposing guards of other teams get into the paint lackadaisically, and they have a just premier position to where they can put up a floater, they can go and drive and then kick it off to the big man, and we know that there's no help around the paint when Karl-Anthony Towns goes to help on a guard. They have better perimeter defense at this point. And again, I don't think Mikal Bridges should be lumped into that category. I think that really does fall on Jalen Brunson. I know a lot of people hate to talk about Jalen Brunson's defensive game. I get that. But like analyzing the first 10 games of the season, Nick, if we don't want to put that blame on Karl-Anthony Towns, which I don't, because I really do think he's been playing respectable defense. I do think he's been contesting a lot of shots. And do those shots go in at the end of the day? Sure. But that's not the end all be all. The problem with that is that the guards are allowing the opposing guards to get into the paint and facilitate those easy high percentage shots, or just dumping off to the big guys that the Knicks inevitably have to switch on when Karl-Anthony Towns has to meet the opposing guard in the paint. That's really the problem that I've been assessing in terms of the Knicks defensive lapses. That's really what I'd break it down to.
I think really it comes down to Bridges. With Brunson, we know what we're going to get. Okay, he's going to draw some charges, and Brunson is, I think he could be better. He needs to be a little bit better when it comes to the defense. I thought a really good, just Brunson sometimes loses a little bit of focus on defense, and I see him like not rotate to a guy quick enough, or let a guy, get a ball where he gets ahead of steam, and Brunson doesn't get out to him quick enough to be able to impede him. And then once he gets, any player basically in the league, when they get a little bit of momentum going, Brunson's not going to be able to stay in front of him unless he can draw a charge, right? Brunson got to be a little bit better, but we know we're going to get out of him. And obviously with a player that gives you the offensive punch that he gives you, you're okay with a 6-foot player that's like him, who's just not terrible on defense and is just okay. It's all about Bridges, man. Bridges has games where you watch him And I'm telling you, I have keyed on him. There's certain games where he's so locked in defensively. And sometimes it changes within a quarter where he's so locked in and he's getting out on every three and he's so into it and he's moving his feet and he's pissed off at himself when he doesn't make a defensive play. And there's other games where I see him just have a lapse in overall intensity. And look, you just threw it up there. Knicks 100 AGM. It's counteractive to move cat. I agree. I think the whole point is the fact that we want to be able to play 5 out, play that new type of basketball, and give Brunson the ability to operate in the paint. And I've seen some people on X, in all the different places that you can comment, even on this comment section, talk about, Brunson and his struggles so far. Somebody said earlier that it might even last into the playoffs. I don't even know how you can make a statement like that, especially when this guy started a little bit slowly.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
It started slowly last year and then ended up top 5 and had a playoff run where he was on lists with Michael Jordan. But listen, man, I think Brunson's going to figure it out. He still hasn't gotten cooking. Even in the games where he scored 30, he hasn't gotten cooking. But defensively, I feel like we need to just get marginally better because our offense is so good. If we can get marginally better on defense, now all of a sudden, and we're high in net rating right now, you get even a little bit higher and you're an elite company when it comes to net rating. And I just, again, that you don't make that trade so Cat can play the 4. It doesn't make any sense.
I'm going to make this scenario for you right now. And I've seen this play out in the first couple games of this season, probably the first 8 games of this season, maybe not so much the last 2 because the Brooklyn Nets just simply, they don't have the big man presence to kind of even make that a question. But an opposing guard, gets into the paint. They beat their guy, whether it's Mikal Bridges or Jalen Brunson, they get into the paint. They're at the top of the paint, right around the free throw line, maybe a little bit extended. And now they are in a triple threat position because they can go ahead. They have a plethora of different options they can utilize. Karl-Anthony Towns is forced to, he doesn't have an option. He is forced to help on that driving guard, and he has to leave his man. The backside help to that is going to be Josh Hart. So you're telling me that Josh Hart being the backside help to an opposing center is going to be the most efficient defense behind Karl-Anthony Towns? I simply can't buy it. And we know that the Knicks rotations have been late. We know that the guard can either go ahead, and which is why I said triple threat. Obviously, triple threat is not, I'm not using it in terms of it's classic term, but I'm telling you, he can either shoot the ball, he can dump it off to the big man, or if the Knicks rotations are late, which they have been a lot of times this season, he can go and hit the corner. More oftentimes than not, that guy's going to be open because the Knicks rotations have not been great. All I'm saying is that with the 2 or 3 man game, depending on who you're counting here in the paint, as soon as an opposing defender penetrates that paint, it's going to be rough if Karl-Anthony Towns is forced to help out on that guard, because if that guard is able to find the opposing center, Josh Hart being 6'4" in the paint as your 4-man, or even OG Anunoby, if he's playing the 4, being 6'6", he's going to be undersized. It does not matter. 6'7", maybe, I don't know, 6'8", it doesn't matter. If the opposing center is 6'10", 6'11", what is OG Anunoby, 6'8"? He's 6'8", right?
I'm looking at, I got 6'7" is what I'm seeing on Basketball Reference.
Okay, so 6'6", 6'7", 6'8".
I thought it was 6. I thought it was going to say 6'8", to be honest with you. But yeah, okay. He feels long. He's got long arms.
What I'm saying, but
Ben Bridges both have long arms.
Okay, regardless of that, do you at least see what I'm saying at this rate in terms of being outsized? Should there be a switch off if that situation were to happen where the opposing guard gets into the paint? That's all I'm saying, because let's take a look at, and this is not the end all be all. I don't want people to think that this is what I'm trying to make it out to be. But at the end of the day, you take a look at opposing starting lineups in terms of the length that they have. Let's take a look at the Knicks' length. What? 6'1" for Brunson? Being generous, maybe? I don't know. 6'1", 6'4" for Josh Hart. Let's call it 6'7" for OG. Mikal's what, 6'6"? Let's call Karl Anthony Towns 7 foot flat. Take a look at that starting lineup in terms of the length compared to the Orlando Magic.
No doubt.
I mean,
I don't even think
Orlando Magic were thrown out there last year. I don't know, man. Nick, I could be rambling on here, but like this lack of like length in terms of the starting unit is a concern for me. I'm sorry.
I'm not saying it's not a concern for me. It's just what I think that the Knicks are going to do. I personally am much more a fan of a more traditional lineup with a 4 and a 5. But I gotta take a step back and realize that. Listen, man, I turned 40 a couple weeks ago. I'm old, man. I grew up on the I grew up on the 90s Knicks. I grew up with Oakley playing the 4 and Patrick playing the 5. Things are different these days, man. And what I see with this team is the biggest adjustments that we have to make are two things. First and foremost, the way that we guard the pick and roll is way too predictable. We typically run drop coverage, and that's why teams are able to run a pick and roll and make one, maybe two passes, and it leads to a wide open dunker layup or a 3. And that's because they know exactly what we're going to do. And when you play very good players like a Donovan Mitchell, and mid players like a Jalen Green, and players that are on the come up like Cam Thomas. When you play against these guys, guess what? If you run the same coverage all the time, they're going to figure it out. I don't care how good you do it. If you do the same thing all the time, you have to mix it up. So that's something that I honestly have seen a little bit of with the Knicks, where we've been mixing it up a little bit more here recently. And obviously we have a 3-in-1 week. Could have very easily been a 4-0 week, and I'm hoping that continues. I'm with you. It drives me nuts when we're getting killed in the paint, and when I don't think it's always Josh Hart. I think it's it's either Bridges, Hart, or it's Anunoby, who ends up having to be the second person to rotate and help the helper when Cat gets in there. But I think the biggest thing is that we got to do a better job of keeping those guys in front of us. And something overall that I see with the Knicks as far as our urgency and our effort when it comes to defending the 3 has not been quite the level that it needs to get. I don't know why it's not there. I'm hoping that it gets there soon. It drives me nuts not being able to watch it. But I don't necessarily think that, okay, hey, we bring out Mitch and we play him at the 5 with Cat. And now we give up 8 less points a game, let's say. But how many less points per game are we scoring with that same lineup? And like I said, man, you don't make this trade to go back to doing that. So that's just my personal opinion. I think what's going to be the best part is that when we do run the different versatility that we have, and it's going to be up to Tibbs to manipulate all the different matchups and get the most out of different guys depending on who we're playing against, when, what, and what we need. And that's going to be a very tough job from him. And I'm sure there's going to be times where I love what he does. There's going to be times where I criticize what he does when it comes to that. I just don't see us consistently running lineups with Cat at the 4 in today's NBA. And again, I look back at that Philadelphia game, and one of our biggest advantages in that game was making Embiid guard Cat out there at the 3. And when you don't do that, you let Embiid camp and just man the paint. He does a very good job of it. And I just think that as overall as a team and what I've seen, I don't see us doing it. Hopefully Cleveland's a good team. Like you said, Cleveland's a team where you're going to have to run some Cat at the 4 against Cleveland. Okay. But that game, again, we're leading that game in the fourth quarter. And then after that, we just completely lose it because Brunson has a terrible closing to the game. And overall, I think on a lot of the games that we've lost, and this is a point that we could talk about, is because late our starters and our best players, they are a little bit light and their legs are failing them, and all the shots are falling up short because we're running 10 minutes, running a ton of minutes for these guys. And you know me, I love Tibbs. I'm a Tibbs apologist. And when people talk about Tibbs playing guys too many minutes, I'm usually the first person to be like, yo, that's an old tired narrative, blah, blah, blah. But hey, man, let's be real. There has been some of that this year. Some of that is due to injury and not necessarily having guys to play that you can trust. But Dottier, Huckporty, and Kolek have all proven to me that they can get some minutes. Campaign, I can't believe I like Campaign, but he is in the circle of trust at this point. He deserves some minutes. There's no reason for us to be consistently running out there where, in the third or fourth game of the season, I think Jalen Brunson played the entire second half. That's just not smart. And hopefully Tibbs would make some adjustments.
I was just about to say, man, I was kind of like on the track of getting to where you stood on the minutes situation, because I think both of us last year were like, listen, get off Tibbs back. The minutes aren't an issue. I think Dante DiVincenzo, even in a recent interview, was just like, I had no problem, with the minutes that I played last season. Like, we're hoopers. We want to play. Like, we want to play all the time, like, if we can. So, like, but it does look like to end ball games this season that they look a little bit tired. So, I'm glad you said it and I didn't have to. But no, I agree with you. And that's also a frustration factor for me this season. Is just like, dude, Kolik's a baller. Trust him, Tibbs. Like, I know he's a rookie. I know he's got to gain your trust, so to speak.
Traffic cone on defense, Kolik.
He is a traffic cone on defense, but I'm not going to lie to you. Second team on offense, I'm going to take his production. But even more so than that, if you want to move past Tyler Kolik and not make that argument for him, Hukporti? You're telling me he doesn't deserve more minutes?
This is my prediction.
To be playing in said game tonight. I know Jericho Sims had a decent game.
He's feeling Hukporti breathing over his neck. Look, real quick, this is my prediction, and this is the only thing that makes sense to me for Thibodeau. And this is I don't want to get crazy, and I'm almost throwing this out here as wishful thinking, maybe because I don't understand what's going on. I'm hoping that next game tomorrow, back to back, that Hukporti gets his like full audition, and instead of Sims being the first guy off the bench, it's Hukporti, because I have no idea how Hukporti has the performance that he had last game. And honestly, a lot of people in Knicks circles, including myself, since the beginning of the preseason, have been saying that all the Sims minutes need to go to Hukporti. But specifically, the game that he had last game, the fact that he got a DMP tonight was wild to me. Sims played well, but still,
he did play well. He did play well. I was very shocked to see a DNP from Aaron Hukporti after last game. Actually, you know what? I will backtrack that and say that Tom Thibodeau's our head coach, so I'm not really shocked to see that.
I was just because of the way he played last game. And real quick, I gotta throw this out here again, because we could all get a little bit hyperbolic sometimes, and we can get a little alarmist and a little concerned when it comes to our Knicks. Jalen Brunson, who many people are talking about how he's not playing well, he's not doing this, he's blah 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 blah. He's averaging 25.3 points, 6.6 assists. He's shooting 47.5% from the field, and he's shooting 37% from three, and he's shooting 82% from the line. Can everybody take it easy? Can everybody? I mean, when you talk about Jalen Brunson, like, and we start to be like, oh, he's not doing this, he's not doing that, blah 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 blah. Like, yo, how quick, when it comes to him and Tibbs, how quick do we get spoiled? How many years did we not have anything close to a Jalen Brunson or a Tibbs in this organization? And we want to criticize these guys now. Take it easy.
Take it easy, guys. Just take it easy. No, I've been concerned about Jalen Brunson. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. I have had some concerning thoughts about Jalen Brunson to start this season so far. But, like, there's a line that you just don't cross in terms of that conversation, in terms of comparing him to the likes of Campaign, or just like,
who's comparing him to Campaign?
I mean, wasn't this what this comment was right here?
Oh, it's in the comments? It's in the comments? Oh, I don't see it. Okay.
Second game in a row, we took the lead with Brunson on the bench and Payne running the show.
Come on.
I mean, this is what the comment says.
Let's be serious. I like it.
I mean, it's gotten to a point this season, Nick. I mean, you're on Nick's Twitter just as much as I am. There's Jalen Brunson family members out there that are calling out Nick's Twitter for stupid comments that they've been putting out there. I mean, Nick's Twitter knows no boundaries. I understand that. But, like, come on now. What are we doing here? Anyways,
25 and 6, 47 and 38 percentage-wise. That's so bad. That's horrible. Jeez.
Let's talk about this guy, OG Anunoby, on fire to start the season. And I'm sorry, the graphic does not seem to match the camera angle. There's a lot of technical difficulties that we've had to go through with this post game, but it's all right. is our first post game of this season. I'm sure there will be more. If you enjoy this post game, by the way, if you enjoy the talking points, please do subscribe to both channels, myself and the He Did This to Me podcast. Make sure to hit the thumbs up on both streams. And yeah, just keep throwing those comments in there. We like to have a discussion with you all. But OG Anunoby on fire to start this season. I was very adamant after the game 1 in Boston. I saw OG Anunoby take what? Like he was like 1 for 5, or he took 4 or 5 shots, whatever it was. I was like, dude, I know that you were in the shadows of Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle last season. You need to show me something. You need to show me something. And I understand that it's been an awkward transition for OG Anunoby to try to get acclimated offensively to where he sits behind Jalen Brunson and not Julius Randle, Karl Anthony Towns. Taking a little bit of adjustment to get used to those names. But like you have Mikal Bridges there in the fold in terms of him taking a multitude of shots. And OG Anunoby, I feel like for him, it could have been felt like as awkward as ever to try to, understand whether he was the third option or the fourth option. But I think that we all know as Knicks fans at this point of the season, he is the New York Knicks third option. You want to see him taking more shots than not. 36.6 minutes on average this season, averaging just under 17 points, just over 5 rebounds, 1.5 steals per game, just under 50% from the field. I mean, this guy up and down the board. I mean, you saw it tonight as well, knocking down a couple of shots. I think a couple of beyond the arc too as well. I mean, he's creating shots for himself, but not only that, he's understanding how to create shots for himself in terms of cutting to the basket. That's what OG Anunoby does. He had at least 3, maybe even 4 dunks open that either Karl Anthony Towns or somebody else hit him on in terms of cutting to the basket, because he understands the primary defensive goal for opposing teams is go guard Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, defend that pick and roll. And guess what? When those two guys are clumped together, maybe when the spacing isn't there between those two guys, the opposing side of the court is usually going to be help side. And guess what? They are not having their faces to OG Anunoby. They have their backs to OG Anunoby, and he's quite simply just running in onto the basket for easy layups and dunks. It's a beautiful thing to see, and I love the way that the Knicks are utilizing this aspect. And this is not even coaching, Nick. This isn't Tom Thibodeau saying, "Oh, OG Anunoby, you go ahead and cut at this time of the game." OG Anunoby is reading defenses himself because he is, I don't think it takes a special talent to do this. I'm not going to lie to you, but like he knows, right? He knows how to read opposing defenses, both on the defensive side of the ball when he's defending and also offensively. He knows where to be, even if he is off ball. That's something that I stressed in all my Knicks analysis last season when OG Anunoby came on board. I said, you all love to talk about OG Anunoby when he's guarding on ball. Does anybody look at OG Anunoby when he's playing help side defense? Does anybody look at him, off ball when he's guarding the perimeter, maybe a pass or two away? Nobody's looking at him. But the fact of the matter is that he knows how to help and he knows the next move. OG Anunoby on the floor knows the next best move, and he knows where to be, probably 2 steps ahead of anybody else on the court. And that's why you pay OG Anunoby $200+ million. That's my assessment of OG Anunoby.
So I think this Knicks team, one of the beauties of it is that they leave people like us to worry about who's the first, second, third, whatever option. And especially when we look at our fearless leader in Jalen Brunson and also the way that Cat plays the game. With this team, whoever's going to be whichever option is going to depend on the right basketball play on a particular play. The only person who's ever got away from that was a little bit of Brunson at the end of games and a couple, like specifically in that Houston, Atlanta game. But he seems like even he has figured that out, and he spoke about it as such. OG Anunoby, he understands spacing and anticipation on both sides of the ball about as good as anybody I've ever seen. The guy is legitimately a savant. When he's on defense, he is always help, like that secondary help. He's always there. He's not there late where he has to, make some crazy athletic play to get a cleanup block. He's there early so that he intercepts the pass and that or the play never even happens. And then on offense, what we saw from him, I would say that a guy like RJ, especially the way RJ's been playing this year, RJ has a bigger bag than OG. But OG is so efficient and effective, whether it be shooting the three or being in the right place, cutting. I mean, he's just fantastic at all of those things. I love what I've seen from OG as far as expanding his game this year. What we started to see in that playoff series, especially against Indiana, we're now starting to see in this season, where he's got a little bit more, dribble, step back, relocate on the three. The biggest thing for OG for me is he can never take more than one dribble in the paint. When he takes if he takes two dribbles in the paint, that ball's getting stripped. It's going off his foot. It's going out of bounds. Nothing good happens when he needs to get into the paint and be extremely decisive, go up strong, or pass the ball. And he's also a fairly good passer when he gets in the paint and people collapse on him, and being able to find the guy who is now open because his defender is helping on OG. I love watching him play. If you're a true, real basketball guy and you know the game and you understand some of the nuances that you can't measure in statistics, OG is an absolute joy to watch on both sides. He's legitimately, when it comes to spacing anticipation, he's a savant. CP, you good, man?
Sorry. Yeah, I'm good. I was honestly just trying to fix up these backgrounds. Sorry.
You're good, man. You're good. That's when you got to give me one of these. Give me one of these, and I'll filibuster. Give me one of these.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that you kind of were going in on how much of OG was a savant, a little bit more, a little bit. No, we're good. Listen though, with OG Anunoby, I mean, taking a look at what he provided, obviously we'll see in the next screen in terms of what he provided tonight. I really do think his outside shooting has also just gotten better. But also, I want to get this, I want to ask you this question in terms of the overall confidence versus timidness, because last season it was almost as if, I'm not sure if you remember this when we were doing post-game streams, but it was almost like we were begging OG Anunoby to take open shots. Mm-hmm. That's not the case.
Oh no, he's firing.
Not the case now.
He's firing.
I mean, honestly, off the dribble, a defender in his face, he's shooting the basketball. And this is everything and more that I wanted to see from OG Anunoby last season. It was pulling teeth with him to try to at least shoot the open corner shot, the three-pointer or whatever, whether it was a midi or whatever.
But let me ask you this about OG with you said it was pulling teeth and all that. Don't you feel that little way? Didn't you feel that way, especially early in the season with Bridges a little bit? New team, man. You come to a new team, and I feel like Bridges is starting to come out of it a little bit more, where he's shooting the ball more. He's hunting the middies, of course. But I just think that some of that with OG this year and the changes from this year to last year is just he's more comfortable.
I said this about Bridges a couple of games ago. This is a couple of games ago. This wasn't 2 or 3 games in. This was maybe 3 games ago. I said, the one thing that I like about Bridges is that even if he continuously misses, he reminds me of J.R. Smith in a way, where he's just going to keep shooting it. And not in terms of the shots or whatever, but you know what I mean? He's going to keep shooting the basketball. For me, I'd like to compare. Listen, dude, I've never even touched a collegiate basketball floor, let alone amateur floor. But I'm going to keep letting that thing fly. I'm not going to lie to you. That's what I respect.
You're a chucker is what you're saying.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Because I know if I catch fire, I'm hitting 4 or 5 in a row. No, I'm just saying, listen, that's what I respect about basketball players, though, is it's with Bridges as well, it's we also didn't spend 5 picks on him to be
5 12th graders.
Right. Well, but even still, right? Again, I understand that thought process.
I just like the line. I just like the line.
No, I agree. But I agree with you. At the end of the day, you have to realize like what those picks are going to be equating to and what their value is right now. But like at the end of the day, you don't spend that kind of value on the guy to bring him over to potentially just defer shots and just not take shots. You know what I mean? So like if Bridges is going to take some time to get completely in his offensive rhythm, and if he's going to go, 5 of 11, 5 of 13, 5 of 14, whatever, it is, I'm willing to endure that pain as long as it continuously gets better, as long as we see a progression in that efficiency in terms of the shots that he's taking. I think that we have. I think that we've have. And I think that with the aggressiveness that he's sort of been showing us in the last couple of games compared to like the first couple of games that you're talking about, I think that we've been seeing a lot better shots from him. Yes, he has stretches where it's like, Bridges, what the hell are you doing, dude? Like these 3-pointers that he's shooting, whatever. But like I can live with those, Nick. I can live with those.
I'm not mad at the threes that he shoots. Listen, the thing with Bridges to me is this. Bridges' stats look almost exactly the same every single game. He gives you like 15 to 18 points. Here recently, we've seen in these last couple games where he's been getting 22, 21, which is what I like to see from him more. To me, the key with Bridges offensively is instead of 13, 11, like you were saying, field goal attempts, tonight was perfect. Bridges shot 9 of 18. I need Bridges shooting about 18 shots a game. When Bridges shoots around that 18 number, I feel great. When Bridges shoots 13, and I know I'm pulling hairs here, I don't feel as good because I think that's simple. That simply comes to how aggressive he's being, and he has to hunt the middies. Take the wide open threes when you get them. He's shooting the corner three better than anybody in the NBA thus far this season, and he's done it extremely well throughout his entire career. So when he gets those, he's got to take them. I think sometimes he takes the like wing three when he is a little bit too much like on the move, and now it becomes a little bit of a fadeaway, and I don't love that. But when he shoots inside the 3-point line, overall he's shooting 63% this season. As of a couple games ago, I'm sure that's changed. If anything, it's gone up because he's hit more of those shots. When he is hunting that midi, when he gets in there with that high release and he's taking that fadeaway, especially if he gets a foot in the paint, it goes in every single time. He just literally needs to hunt that 3 or 4 more times a game. We've seen that from him here recently. Hopefully it continues.
No, yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with you. It's like a working dynamic between Bridges and Anunoby, right? A lot of people came into the season expecting Bridges to be that tertiary sort of like option, and like it doesn't really matter if it's him or Bridges. I don't really care at this point. I just need to see efficiency, and I need to see that production on the defensive side of the ball, and we've seen that from OG Anunoby, and I know that you've pointed out Bridges sort of lack of defense, but I think that when we get that quote unquote wing stop, we'll be fine.
It's coming along. It's coming along, and we've seen flashes.
What do you make of this box score right here? Just like if you're really looking at the box score right here, what do you make of it?
What we've seen all season, which is just a fantastic balance, where we've had guys, we've been setting like team all-time records as far as the starters, scoring in double figures, and we continue to do that. Josh Hart, I mean, I love Josh Hart, man. I just love the way this guy plays the game. I mean, he just brings it all the time. He hits timely shots. He had a timely 3 tonight, and he does everything that we could possibly need from him. I mean, he had the worst foul in the history of the Knicks, maybe at one point earlier this week. But I give him more of a pass in that type of situation than I would give almost anybody else on the team, because that unbridled passion and reckless abandon that he plays with is part of what makes him so great. So occasionally it's going to bite you in the ass, and it is what it is. We gotta let that be. And hey, like Louis said, man, Louis, it's not easy to beat any team 2 games back to back. So that is something to be happy about. And especially the Nets, who always want to play us tough. You got both of the Cams playing well for them, and you got Karl Anthony Towns missing the game, and we get to get out of the weekend with 2 wins. Friday was hairy. It was a tough one, but we got a nice, exciting finish. And then tonight, we had some times where we let them get back into it, but overall, we did our thing. And when you look at that starting lineup, man, I mean, everybody who's talking about Cat and his inability to man the paint, his rebounding numbers have been fantastic. His passing is fantastic, and that's getting better. That's going to continue to get better. Okay, his ability to catch that ball at that high post, and because he's so long, and because he's a willing passer, and he's anticipatory, to be able to get guys like OG and Mikhail and Josh Hart dunks, and the backdoor pass that he had earlier in the season over his head to Brunson for the and one. I mean, come on, it doesn't get any better than that. It's beautiful basketball. And when you look at Brunson, hey man, how many games could we win with Brunson having those numbers last season?
I completely agree with you.
He gets double-digit assists tonight. Double-digit assists. It says 9 on NBA.com. I don't know if they made a stat correction or what, but they gave him 10 on NBA.com. I know you got 9, but I don't know if there's a stat correction or what. But Brunson,
I was probably wrong because they make the stat adjustments as soon as I put these graphics up and whatever.
Yeah, we'll give you the benefit of the doubt. They made an adjustment. Yeah, you had it right in the first place. But I mean, listen, look, you look at the 12 points that he had. He's 3 of 14, and we end up winning the game. You don't win any of those games last year, okay? So this team is just way more balanced. It's a team that can withstand a tough night from Brunson, and hopefully we don't need him to put up Michael Jordan numbers to be able to advance in the playoffs. And Cat, man, Cat OG, just keep these guys healthy, man. Keep these. No,
I agree. Yeah, the health factor is the major part there. Absolutely, 100%. I like to see an even distribution amongst the shots from Anunoby and Mikal Bridges. Josh Hart again, multiple threes today. I mean, he's just finding the bottom of the net. 20 points on 13 shots. Brunson not efficient at all. Only 12 points. Finding his teammates again, as Nick pointed out, winning this game with those types of Brunson numbers is just simply something that we would not have seen last season at all. So that's an absolutely great point. And something that I guess we didn't really talk about too heavily up at the top of this podcast is just like the fast break points. I know it was only 13-9 this game. I get that, but like the fast break points that the Knicks are generating these games and this season so far, with the likes of Josh Hart running coast to coast, with the likes of OG Anunoby getting a lot of transition buckets as well. It's just an absolutely beautiful facet of the game. And that's something that I've stated, watching the Knicks for many seasons is like, I would like to see a team that can run and gun and get fast break opportunities at any given moment. And that's something that this team, right? If you want to, go in on their lack of depth, or their lack of length, like I've done in this season so far, at least the one thing that I can also just interactively state is that they can also run the floor with the best of them in this league. They really can. And that's been evident so far as well. So next game here to wrap things up here. Knicks are on a back-to-back. I believe the next game is tomorrow night, if I'm not mistaken, against the Washington Wizards. These are your projected starting fives based off of what the last projections were in each of these respective teams' games. And you see here, for the Knicks, standard as usual, was wondering if Karl Anthony Towns was going to give it a go tonight. Obviously, Deuce McBride was not giving it a go. He was not available in this game. But for the Wizards, they're 2-10 on the season. This is a team that the Knicks should definitely beat. Kyle Kuzma, Jordan Poole, Bilal Coulibaly. But it's like, outside of that, I mean, this is a young and up-and-coming Wizards team. They're kind of in like the rebuild stages. Not much I'm expecting. Like, the Knicks need to win this game, man.
Sit Cat. I would say sit Cat. Cat with the back, listen, back-to-back games, and then after that, the Knicks will be out in the desert And your boy will be in attendance, so I definitely want to see Cat in that game against the Phoenix Suns on Wednesday. Last time I saw the Knicks come out here, this past season, Brunson went 12 of 12 in the second half and put up a 50 piece. So I got to see that.
That's right.
So I got to see that in person. So I'm hoping to see, the Knicks take care of business this Wednesday. And personally, if Cat is feeling any type of sore tomorrow against this team and on a back-to-back, you sit Cat. You get, you go ahead and start Sims. You get plenty of Huck Porty minutes, and you have Cat ready to go for this West Coast trip that's about to come up. And we have to take care of business against this team. I mean, again, we've had too many games this year where we've played with our food and ended up losing against teams that we feel like that we should be better than. And then if we're going to accomplish what we expect to this season, we have to be better than. This is a game where if Cat wakes up tomorrow and he says, I'm totally fine, I'm ready to go, okay, great. If he says to the slightest, sit him down. It's long term with him. We know his injury history. We know that he is a very large man that fell directly on his lower back tonight. And we go in and we should be able to take care of business of the team. Put him away early. Have it be one of those games where, even Tibbs is willing to take out the main guys with 5 minutes to go and get a nice little W in against Washington. We're at home, take care of business, then go on the road and let's get a streak started. Let's get something where we can look back and be like, hey, the Knicks are 8-2 in their last 10. That's what this team needs right now. We started off a little bit slow. Let's go ahead. Let's get right. We had a tough schedule early, man. Not only the teams that we played against, but then we had that road trip where we zagged across the entire country. Like that NBA schedule makers, what are you trying to do to us? And hey, man, I know, listen, I don't like refs. I don't like any refs. I don't like the guys that work at Foot Locker because of the shirts they wear. But you cannot tell me, and I want to ask you about this. How do you feel about the way that our guy Brunson has been officiated this season?
It's just, I mean, we saw it. We know this, Nick. We know this. Like, it's not going to change. It's not going to change. And then you got opposing fan bases saying, "Oh, he's foul baiting. He's stopping short of whatever." I mean, listen, come on. The amount of times I see Jalen Brunson get to the paint with ease, and that's not by a miracle, right? I mean, this guy's 6'1" on a good day. His stature just blowing by opposing guards, getting into the paint. I mean, listen, he's getting knocked around in there. There's a lot of no calls that I'm okay with, but then the other majority of no calls that are happening against Jalen Brunson are simply unacceptable. And something has got to change about that, but do I expect that to change? No. So I feel like us fans just have to live with that. But I agree with you. Tom Thibodeau has mentioned this in his, press conferences on a multitude of occasions going back to last year. I mean, he recently just called out the refs, right?
After the last
on Jalen Brunson's no foul calls. I mean, nothing's going to change no matter what happens.
But what is it, though? I don't get it. I don't get what they have against this guy. He gets fouled twice before he gets across half court almost every game. And honestly,
yeah,
Cat doesn't get a superstar whistle either. And he's a superstar. He does not get a superstar whistle, man. And listen, I'm biased. I get it. I am biased. I realize I'm biased. Obviously. But come on, man. Sometimes it's like, yo, did Rick Brunson sleep with the head of officials daughters back in the day or something like that? What's going on here?
What was the discrepancy in the first half of the Sixers game, right? When they had 9, 10, 11 free throws and the Knicks had 0 or 1 or something or 2 or something like that. What was the discrepancy? I mean, that's I'm not saying that's a consistent trend in this entire season, but it's when you go up against opposing superstars, Joel Embiid's debut, no less, and they're getting that whistle, right? And the Knicks are not getting anything. It's what the hell is going on, man? Anyways, whatever. We're Knicks fans. We get it. This is going to come across as complaining. I don't care, quite simply, because it's this has been going on even before this season. It does not matter. Anyways, the Knicks need to play better. They are riding on a 2-game win streak. The next one will be an official win streak, 3 games in a row. They're still waiting for Precious Achiuwa to get back. No better way to start a win streak and get 3 in a row than versus the Washington Wizards. I mean, this is a gimme game. I hate to say it. I hate to put this on the New York Knicks, but this is a gimme game. And as you said, even if Karl Anthony Towns sits this game. This is the game that the Knicks should win. And you know what? If I'm Tom Thibodeau, just as an FU to all of this Knicks fan base and what they've been saying about him, I know this is wishful thinking, but just start Aaron Laporte.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that.
Anyways, man, listen, this is your boy CP. That's Nick from the He Did This To Me podcast. Final thoughts here before we send things out and close things out. This is a true Knicks Talk post-game show. Let's hear it, Nick.
With this team all season, it has come down to consistency. I haven't run the stats since this 2-game series against the Nets, but going into it, we were 99 points against in wins. We were 122 points against in losses. It's that simple. When we play consistent, solid defense, when we run guys off of threes and make them have to go to second and third options as opposed to a PNR and one pass, a second pass, and a wide open three or a dunk, we're a very good team. We're going to score. Our offense looks great. 4 Knicks with 6+ assists tonight. In games where we get up close to that 30 assist number, which we've done quite a few times this season, and we had a hard time getting to last season. Tonight we had 33 assists. Knicks have 33 assists. They're going to win. Shout to Patrick Ewing. Come on, man. Let's go ahead and let's get it done. Let's take care of Washington, and then come out west. And Knicks, I'll see you personally and lay eyes on you. And let's get a little win streak going. Let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. Knicks playing great basketball, always good. I didn't even mention this because it's not even a crosstown rivalry at this point. I mean, it's always good to get a win against the Nets, but it's not even worth mentioning about this rivalry. It's not a rivalry. The Knicks are just the Kings of New York. We all know this. Anyways, that doesn't need to be said. I refrained until a minute and 10, an hour and 10 minutes into the stream, whatever. This is a true Knicks Talk post-game reaction show with your boy CP and my guy Nick from the He Did This To Me podcast. You can catch Nick and his pops and their podcast. Link in my description down below. Please make sure to hit the thumbs up on this video. We will be doing more post-game collaborations across this entire season, schedule permitting on both of our ends. We appreciate it. Thank you all so much. Let's go, Knicks. See you all whenever we see you all. Peace.
Thank you for watching the True Knicks Talk podcast. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.